Hi folks, and welcome to Attica Armory. Since much of the world seems to be in the clutches of mass hysteria over the spread of the coronavirus, we figured, what better way is there to do our little part and add to that hysteria than to make a video about shooting rifles with a CBRN mask on. Please remember to give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And in case you were wondering, our citrus-powered synthetic CLP will not protect you from the coronavirus, but it will protect your precious guns from their own proverbial pathogens of death. The Trinity killer of carbon, friction, and corrosion. You can find out how it works by visiting us at ATTICAArmory.com. Okay. So now that I got the burning need for really shameless and intense fear-mongering out of my system, let's try to have a legit discussion on shooting rifles with an NBC mask on. The mask we're using today, and I'll just call this a gas mask for the sake of simplicity, is an Israeli civilian mask with a Type 80 NBC 40mm standard NATO filter. It protects from a variety of nuclear, biological, and chemical hazards. The Israeli civilian mask is really what I consider the bare minimum that is adequate for an NBC scenario, since they're reasonably affordable, yet they provide a halfway decent face seal, have a drinking straw, and are compatible with standard 40mm NATO filters. They also come in these adorable children's sizes. That said, these are far from ideal for use in armed combat. In the US Army, we were issued the M40 and later M50 type gas masks, which had a few things going for them that the Israeli civilian mask is lacking. First off, the M40 and M50 have much larger eye windows, so visibility is much better. Second, the M40 allows you to mount the filter on the left or right side to allow for less interference when shooting a rifle. However, this came with a pitfall of its own. If you had to switch sides in order to shoot around a corner on your weak side, it became more difficult to shoulder the rifle with the mask on. The Israeli civilian mask has the filter dead center, so you can shoot from either shoulder without major interference from the filter. The M40 and M50 also seems to have more durable lenses for banging around on the battlefield. And last but not least, the M40 and M50 has a more isolated breathing cup to keep your breath from fogging up your lenses. The Israeli civilian gas mask does also have a separate breathing cup, but it doesn't tend to seal quite as well, so it can fog up a bit, as your breath can enter the main chamber of the mask. This also means you're more dependent on the main outer seal, making it more susceptible to interference from your hair. Despite all these shortcomings, the Israeli mask offers a reasonable compromise between cost and quality. It would have cost over $1,100 to equip my whole family with high-end masks that probably wouldn't have fit the kids anyway. Whereas this entire set of 4 masks with filters and canteens ran me about $220 before the recent price gouging broke out, of course. Overall, that's not too bad for functional masks that we hope we never need. Let's start off by putting on our gas masks and doing some dry practice routines. Make sure your rifle is unloaded, no live ammo is in the immediate area, and that you're pointing the rifle in a safe direction. The first thing you need to do is to properly adjust the mask and test for leaks. For those of you who sport the grizzly tactical operator beards, I have to warn you, this is one of the main reasons the Army made us shave every day. Even a little second-day stubble can compromise your seal and expose you to what you're trying to keep out. And if you go full-blown Duck Dynasty with your facial hair, I wouldn't even bother with the gas mask. Just shove your beard in your mouth and breathe through that. It'll probably be just as effective. And ladies, your hair and bangs have to be out of the way. So try tilting your head back when putting on your mask to keep the hair out of the seal. I told my wife that we'd have to shave her head if the hits the fan, and she told me that she'd rather just die. Make sure that you mark the filter you use for training and only use it for training, as it will sustain permanent degradation from being unsealed and used. If you want to test your face seal, try entering the bathroom while your significant other or roommate are pooping. No, seriously. And to avoid creating a #MeToo moment in there, remember to ask for permission first. Simply having a stinky environment will help you notice if outside air is getting in. Once you know you have a good seal and you suction tested it, do not remove your mask until you're done with the exercise. You want to make sure you always keep the inside of the lenses clean since you can't remove the mask once it's on. Dirty lenses will make the already difficult task of shooting a rifle with your mask on that much more of a pain. Now, let's take a standard 21st century US Army basic rifle marksmanship standing position. The first thing you will probably notice is that your cheek weld and your sight alignment are difficult to obtain. This is totally normal and can be mitigated with a bit of practice. You really only have two options here. The first is to keep the rifle straight and to twist your head and neck up and over the stock until your strong eye is on the sight plane of the rifle. The second option is to rotate your rifle 30 to 40 degrees inward and keep your head and neck more upright. Both methods have pros and cons that we need to be aware of. The first method will give you a more true and natural sight picture and will allow you to shoot from various standing, kneeling, and prone positions with a more accurate point of aim and point of impact correlation. It will also give you a bit of actual cheek weld, however lousy it may feel. Some of the downsides to this method are that it's not particularly comfortable on your neck for extended holds. And worse yet, it is somewhat easier to break your mask seal from this position as it puts pressure on the cheek and can shift the mask out of place. The latter method of tilting the rifle toward you will give you a more comfortable position with faster sight acquisition and less risk of decoupling your face and your mask. But all of that comes at the expense of accuracy. When you tilt your rifle to the side, your point of impact will change if it's not re-zeroed for that exact angle. This becomes particularly pronounced at longer ranges. Therefore, we train folks to learn both techniques. The first being used for long-range precision and the second being used for close-quarters urban combat. With the first method, try to wrap your head over the top of the stock so your strong eye just comes into alignment with the sight plane. Try to maintain awareness of the effects of your cheek weld on your gas seal. Once you're in position, you can even have someone place their hand over the filter inlet to do a suction test. If you feel any leaks in the seal while you're in this position, try to reposition your face higher up over the stock and at a sharper angle to reduce some of the pressure. Once you're aligned with your sight plane and you have a good seal, do some drive practice and work on getting into this position as fast as possible. Also, it's good to try this in the kneeling and prone positions just for the fun of it. Now, let's move on to the latter, angled rifle position. This position will feel very strange at first because it detracts from many of the core fundamentals of rifle marksmanship that we're used to. First, your cheek weld will be awkward and far less pronounced, almost non-existent. Then, your stock will not nest normally into your shoulder, but will kind of wander out onto your upper arm. And your grip will be off to the side, which in turn could cause your elbow and your hand to stick out to the side and change the entire dynamic of your stance. And perhaps the most critical, your sights will not be zeroed anymore. Not to mention that all of these things are amplified by the labored breathing that you're likely to experience during combat with a mask on. Nonetheless, this method will give you faster sight acquisition with minimal risk to your mask seal, so it makes for a good trade-off in close quarters. Now, if you're considering using this type of setup out of necessity or maybe a lack of other options, hey, don't dog it, folks. I saw people rocking these things in Hong Kong during the protests. And sometimes you just have to make do with what you have. If that's the case, the second method with the angled rifle position is probably your best bet due to the dual side-mounted filters making a cheek weld almost impossible. This is why it's so critical to practice both dry and live fire with your mask on. If you're able to, try sprinting 100 yards with the mask on, then doing a mag dump or two. You can also try this at home using dry practice and a treadmill. And I tell you what, you are not likely to find a comparable dose of reality to add to any unrealistic prepper fantasies you might be harboring than to try running, then shooting with your mask on. You see, regardless of how hardcore you are, or what gear you have, or how much you train, the fact is that shooting, moving, and fighting with a gas mask on just sucks. The visibility sucks, the breathing sucks, the mobility and ergonomics suck. So whatever you do, please don't let a real emergency scenario be your first experience shooting with your mask on. You can make it suck a lot less with some routine practice. And since you good folks are here watching this video, I'm guessing this won't be an issue for you. Now, if you also have masks for your kids, you really need to let them actually wear the masks on occasion. One of my kids went into a full-blown claustrophobic panic the first time I put a mask on them and did a suction test. They literally grabbed it and ripped it off of their face. And my kids have great discipline and generally keep it together quite well with things. It was just unexpected and unfamiliar, and it caused a potentially fatal panic attack. Had that been a real NBC emergency, they would probably be dead. After a few more times though, the kids got used to it and can now handle the masks, at least for a little while. Regardless of how this coronavirus thing plays out, let's try to maintain our sanity and not lose our compassion and our humanity. Otherwise, what's the point of all this? And with that, thanks for visiting today. We hope you enjoyed this video, and we hope that you and your families stay safe and healthy. And we'll see you again next time at Attica Armory.